In the blistering heart of the Arabian Peninsula lies a mystery that contradicts nature itself, a land that holds unimaginable wealth, yet thirsts more than any place on earth. Skyscrapers touch the clouds, oil fields glitter like liquid gold, but beneath it all the silence of a missing river echoes louder than the hum of machinery. Welcome to Global Map Stories, where today we dive into one of humankind's boldest challenges: how Saudi Arabia, the world's driest wealthy nation, is manufacturing rivers beneath its sand. Most of the world imagines Saudi Arabia as endless dunes of gold dust, shimmering cities of glass, palaces trimmed with marble, and highways flanked by date palms. That image is true, but incomplete, because behind that glamour runs an old anguish. The kingdom owns vast oil reserves, but not a single natural river. With 98% of its terrain covered in blistering desert and rainfall so scarce it can vanish for years, water here is more precious than diamonds. Think about it, an entire country the size of Western Europe, where every drop must be planned, pumped or produced. Riyadh, the capital, receives barely 116 millimeters of rain in a year, less than what New York sees in a single storm. Back in 1950, the city's population barely crossed 300,000. Today it exceeds 26 million. That exponential growth turned every well and every drop into a battlefield for survival. If the desert gave no rivers, then where did all that water come from? To survive, Saudi Arabia long depended on hidden reservoirs deep under its feet, ancient aquifers filled during prehistoric wet eras when the Arabian Desert was once savanna. Scientists call it fossil water, trapped through millennia, renewed only on geological timescales. For decades, this invisible sea kept faucets running and farms alive. Entire cities rose on that buried fortune until technology's beeping sensors revealed the cost. NASA's GRACE satellite mission discovered the country was losing 2 cubic kilometers of groundwater every year between 2002 and 2016. Imagine removing 2 billion tons of water annually, the supply equal to hundreds of Olympic-sized pools vanishing each day. At that rate, the desert was quietly going hollow beneath the surface. Meanwhile, demand soared. People used over 300 liters a day, about double the global average, because water felt endless until it wasn't. Then came the wheat dream of the 1970s. Determined not to depend on imports, the government vowed to make the desert bloom with golden fields of grain. It subsidized irrigation, built canals, bought pumps larger than airplane engines. Satellite photos from those years show surprising circles of green across the sands, signs of center pivot farms visible even from space. But beauty can be deceptive. The wheat roots drank faster than wells could breathe. Within 30 years, 85% of the nation's water was going straight to agriculture. By the early 2000s, aquifers had dropped so low that enormous pumps began sucking air instead of water. The grand farming experiment that once promised self-reliance was shut down, leaving abandoned steel skeletons in ghostly fields. It was a sobering moment and the start of a new era. If nature would not fill rivers, Saudi engineers decided they would build them. Thus began the colossal project, known simply as the Artificial River Network, stretching a mind-bending 12,000 kilometers beneath the desert. Picture an artery system for an entire nation, thousands of kilometers of pipeline, valves the size of buses, and pumps roaring day and night, pushing water not downhill but upwards, up to 10,000 feet into mountain towns. And what feeds this network? The seas themselves. Along the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf coasts, giant desalination plants work around the clock, turning salt water into life. Every single day, about 94 million cubic meters of seawater, nearly 1 trillion liters, is purified and sent inland. Step inside one of these plants and you'll witness a scale that tests imagination. There's the vast shimmer of metal pipes, the hiss of steam, the pulse of turbines, an industrial orchestra where chemistry and physics merge. Through multi-stage flash distillation, Seawater enters enormous steel chambers where it's heated, vaporized, condensed, and collected as clean water. The process reuses leftover steam to generate electricity, saving energy in a continuous loop. Nearby, another hall hums with the rhythm of reverse osmosis units. Here, seawater is forced through thin polymer membranes, each pore only a few millionths of a millimeter wide. The membranes trap pores so tiny that viruses cannot pass. The result, 99% pure fresh water, drop after drop, hour after hour. Modern systems are remarkably efficient, producing 1,000 liters of drinkable water with barely 2.8 kilowatt-hours of energy, the same as a household motor running for an hour. When day ends, the water begins its journey through underground highways. Pipes 2.25 meters wide snake underneath the dunes. They are built of reinforced anti-corrosion material that withstands heat and salt for decades. Each junction is fitted with sensors that track flow, pressure, and even the tiniest leak. From the coast, the water surges inland across desert basins, through valleys, under highways and city blocks, sometimes ascending mountains taller than clouds. At high-altitude pumping stations, workers say it feels like operating an iron volcano. The ground shakes as pumps force the flow upward, consuming nearly 9% of the nation's entire electricity output. To keep power sustainable, solar arrays and wind farms now dot the plains, feeding the pipelines with green energy harvested from the same sun that scorches the desert. Underground, the flow never stops. Engineers proudly call this network the kingdom's hidden river, a man-made ecosystem that rivals the Nile in length. If all its pipes were laid end to end, they could wrap around the Earth's equator. Above ground, the transformation is visible. Areas once barren now support new towns, farms, and industries. The same dream of wheat farming that once drained aquifers is slowly being revived, but smarter. Instead of open flood irrigation, farmers now use drip systems monitored by computers. Greenhouses sprout along the coast, powered by solar panels and cooled with desalinated water. Experimental crops like tomatoes and barley grow where once only camel grass survived. Yet, every technological miracle has a hidden struggle. Desalination doesn't simply make water from salt, it also leaves behind concentrated brine, thicker than seawater, loaded with minerals. In every liter of seawater, there are about 35 grams of salt. Multiply that by billions of liters processed daily, and the leftover salt equals more than 329,000 tons each day, enough to equal the weight of over 1,500 blue whales. Early on, plants discharged this brine back into the sea, creating dangerous zones where high salinity and temperature suffocated marine life. Scientists now call these dead coral zones. The challenge was clear. How do you make life on land without killing life in water? In response, new outlets called multi-diffuser systems were built. These pipes spread the brine widely across the deep ocean, diluting it before it reaches coral reefs. Some research groups propose another twist: brine mining, extracting valuable elements like magnesium, lithium, and potassium from the waste. Instead of treating salt as pollution, they treat it as future resource, an entirely new industry born from the quest for water. Today, Saudi Arabia produces more desalinated water than any other nation on Earth. Guinness World Records recognizes its pipeline grid as the planet's largest continuous water network, and it's still expanding. By 2030, under the Vision 2030 initiative, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman plans to meet 100% of the country's freshwater needs through desalination and smart management. Across the kingdom, more than 500 dams now hold 2 billion cubic meters of fresh water. The King Fahd Dam alone can store over 325 million cubic meters, supplying not just homes but irrigation canals and groundwater recharge systems. During heavy rains, rare but fierce, these dams capture floodwater and channel it back beneath the soil, refilling small aquifers near farming villages. This shift has quietly redrawn the nation's geography. 40 years ago, every drop began as ancient groundwater. Today, more than two-thirds comes from the oceans themselves. In essence, Saudi Arabia has swapped fossils for flow, oil from below exchanged for water from the sea. Outside observers now call this the blue gold revolution. It's teaching engineers worldwide that a waterless country doesn't have to remain waterless, but the revolution's success depends on balance between progress and preservation. Each desalination plant monitors energy efficiency, carbon emissions, and marine impact. Many newly built ones are powered partly by solar farms stretching across Neom and Yanbu. For residents, the effect is tangible. In cities like Riyadh and Dammam, taps that once sputtered during drought now run 24 hours. In far villages, water trucks have disappeared. Piped supply reaches remote homes. Public parks, once faint patches of grass, now host fountains and date palm groves. Education campaigns remind citizens what it took to make every drop. They call it liquid gold. Still, challenges remain. Demand keeps growing. Climate change hovers over the region, threatening harsher heat and less rainfall. Engineers are experimenting with atmospheric water harvesters, devices that condense humidity from air to complement desalination. Pilot stations already produce small quantities, showing that even desert air hides moisture if you have the technology to tease it out. Saudi Arabia's water story is far from over. It's evolving from emergency to endurance, from dependence on oil to mastery of renewable water. By hosting the 2027 World Water Forum, the kingdom will share these lessons with the globe. In the end, this gigantic underground river is more than metal and pipe. It's a testament to human resolve, proof that geography is not destiny. What began as desperation has turned into design. What the desert denied, innovation delivered. A country once defined by thirst now exports knowledge, guiding others towards survival in a warming world. Saudi Arabia's artificial rivers remind us that progress is not about conquering nature, but learning to collaborate with it with courage, intelligence, and imagination. Here ends another remarkable journey on Global Map Stories. If this story inspired you, like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the hidden wonders shaping our planet.